I'm staying strong, need to move on to be what I want. I'll keep dreaming on. I'm staying strong, need to move on to be what I want.
Gotta get his 5 seconds of fame. Isn't that right, Philip? 5 seconds of fame. And then you got this one. Ooh, who wants to eat me? Georgia. She says, hey, man, just let me do what I need to do. Just need to pull on your hair a little bit. And there's Prim. Oh, she's so gorgeous. Aren't you? Philip. 5 seconds of fame. Filming with donkeys. Filming with donkeys. That's an interesting view, Mr. Philip. Look at those teeth. It's actually quite hard to film with donkeys. I've had quite a few people ask me, what's the difference between donkeys and horses? So donkeys come in all sizes, shapes, and colors. Much like Philip and Nevada, she's white. Georgia is your typical donkey-esque color. But there are quite a few differences between donkeys and horses. They are the same, like family, species-wise. They are both equids. But there's a few things that on the outside are very, very different. And then some that are on the inside that are very, very different. Whoa, we got an ear. Surrounded by donkeys. So one of the major differences that one might see is pretty apparent. These big old ears that these guys have. Outwardly, they don't look that much different. Minus the huge ears, like Philip's. But if you were to pet a donkey, their coat is slightly more coarse than, say, a horse's or a pony's hair. And donkeys don't have an undercoat like horses. Their hair is more or less filled with air. They do get a winter coat, but it's not the same kind of winter coat as, say, a horse or a pony. These guys have a lot more hair that is more filled with air, much like an antelope, I guess you could say, than an actual pony. Hello, Nevada. Hello, Nevada. She's so cool. They also have different kinds of feet. So donkey feet, that's a Prim eye. How you doing, Prim? What are you doing? Get back here. Ah! They also have different kind of feet. So their feet structure, it has a lot more elasticity to it, so squishiness, than, say, a horse's foot, where their outside hoof capsule, their structure, sorry, Philip, their outside hoof capsule is a lot more give and take, which leads them a little bit less prone to things like founder because their foot can actually stretch. That also helps with the, different terrain and things like that. They come from arid areas, so their terrain isn't like, the nice grassy fields and pastures that, we think are really cool. They actually think that they're a little bit more of a hindrance. Things like wet dirt and soils don't do so good for donkey feet. They tend to be a little bit more prone to things like thrush or white line disease, whereas horses are a little bit less prone to things like thrush and white line disease in those same areas. And the other different thing about donkeys is that they have usually relatively not that much for mane. And their tail is a lot more like a cow tail, where it's straight and doesn't have a lot of outward hair except for when you get down to the switch on the end of their tail. Oh. Donkeys are incredibly friendly. Horses are as well. Donkeys tend to be more thinkers. So horses are very flight or fight. More flight than fight. Donkeys want to investigate something, probably usually before they run from it. They want to know if they can play with it, if they can eat it, or if they need to, keep themselves safe from it. Whereas horses are a little bit more prone to the whole, oh my God, what was that? Run 6 miles, stop and turn around and go, I don't know what that was. So they're a little bit less prone to spookiness. Not all of them, but some of them. And another interesting factor is they don't all have chestnuts on all 4 legs. Horses have chestnuts on all 4 legs and donkeys don't. This spot right here is called a chestnut. Horses have them and donkeys have them. And they're basically like a little bare pad almost. If you believe in evolution, it's probably where a toe used to be, much like a thumb. When you're talking about the chestnut differences, of donkeys and horses. Donkeys have 2 chestnuts, 1 on each front leg, and horses have 4, 1 on each leg. And they're usually located in between where their knee would be and the upper portion of their legs. So kind of straight in the middle of that. The other thing that is quite different from donkeys is their ability to be strong. So horses generally carry people or riders or other situations like that, whereas donkeys are a little bit less able to hold a lot of weight on their back. You have to make sure that the size of person does fit the size of donkey, because like I said, they can't carry as much as they can pull. And when you're riding them, you have to have your saddle further back on their body to not restrict the movement of their shoulders. They're really strong in aspects of, say, packing and pulling. They can pull almost 3 times their body weight, whereas horses can pull a little bit less than an actual donkey. A lot of the times when people are using donkeys or mules, which is a crossbred between a horse and a donkey, depending upon who their mother is. If their mother is a horse, then they are a mule. If their mother is a donkey, then they are a hinny. But they use primarily these crosses for like packing in the mountains and things like that, because they do share that same foot structure that their parent animal has. And it has a lot more elasticity to it, which makes it a little bit more grippy. Mountains and small passes with rocky terrain and things like that. So they are a bit more sure-footed than horses. Covered some information on donkeys. So let's go over a little bit about horses. So the closest thing I have to a horse is this little dude right here. He's a miniature horse. I'm covering the pony section, but all in all, it's about the same situation. This little guy here is Sprite, and this one over here is Cutie. Hello. These guys are technically new to me, so a little bit more standoffish than the donkeys, but we're developing rapport. So the first thing that you notice about these guys versus the donkeys is those little tiny ears. They have just tiny, tiny little ears. Horses in general, compared to donkeys, have super tiny ears. The difference also being like their body type. Now, granted, like I said, this is a miniature pony, so he's a little bit more stocky than, say, a horse, but they're a bit more square. But horses and ponies both can come in sizes, different sizes, shapes, and colors. Really depends on what their genetics say they should be. We are referencing this tail that I talk so much about. He has a very full tail. Cutie has a little bit less, but if you notice the fact that it literally looks like a tail, donkeys have a little bit more of a cow-esque tail. Another thing also that you come to realize fairly quickly is that horses will kick a lot more readily than donkeys. Donkeys really won't put in the effort of kicking something unless they're absolutely sure that they're going to hit it. This young lady also has a pretty heightened flight response, which isn't quite so prevalent in her pen mate of Sprite, but she is a lot more flighty than a donkey would be of her same size and probably in her same situation. Like I said, these guys are still getting used to me and I'm still getting used to them, so it does come with a decent air of caution in my part and in their part. So what I see is a little bit more pronounced than it would be if I were to have them for a couple years. The differences between donkeys and horses are huge. I wish that I could cover all these differences today in this video. However, I am absolutely going to run out of time for something like that. If you want to learn more about it, have me elaborate on the differences, don't eat me, Philip, that is not kind. I would love if you could put a comment in the comment section, possibly like the video, and subscribe to my channel, because I plan on making a more in-depth video if people want to know. So please hit the like and subscribe, throw a comment in the comment section, and like always, we'll check you later.
I'm staying strong, need to move on to be what I want. I'll keep dreaming on. I'm staying strong, need to move on to be what I want. I'll keep dreaming.